Can we finally take a deep breath, breathe out, and say Auburn is safely trending in the right direction? That's what we're going to talk about this episode, and that is very much the question we are going to ask our show guest today, Auburn Daily Podcast and show regular Pat Barnes. He is Auburn's man of mystery, the self-proclaimed Auburn hall monitor, the sworn enemy of all Auburn bad takes. As always, welcome to the show for another segment. Pat Barnes, and you heard the question, what we're going to talk about today. Can we start feeling good? Is it okay to be happy?
It is very okay to be happy. We're coming off 3 wins in a row. We have looked progressively better, I think, as a complete team in each one of them. I don't know about you, but this is the most optimistic I have felt about Auburn football probably since that Ole Miss Arkansas back-to-back win we had under Harsin. So I think we should feel good. How about yourself?
Yeah, and I think so too. But I want to really talk about why this episode. And I figured as a Game of Thrones fans, you would like the long title chain of
former fan
that you had there. So true. As a Game of Thrones season 1 through 6 and iffy on 7 fan.
Yeah.
The long titles. Okay, there we go. All right, had to give that shout out there, but had to shoot it down with what D&D did to the final season there. But the good news is, unlike Game of Thrones, Auburn is trending in the right direction, like the complete opposite direction of what Game of Thrones was doing. Started a little iffy, but going right. I'm going to redo that sentence there. Going in the right direction, per what you would hope to see in a rebuild. So I'm going to start with this answer to this question, and I want you to kind of get your spin on it. Why do I feel like this is the right time? Because I was a little iffy. I was kind of, just treading in the shallow end for a little bit. Didn't want to go in deep waters of feeling good, feeling optimistic. And here's why. Auburn beat up a bad Mississippi State team at home. Follow that up with beating a bad Vandy team that was away from Auburn. But, you could kind of say, yeah, okay.
They're bad.
From a crowd standpoint. Yeah, Vandy, this is not a good Vandy squad. Which is nice because it seems like every time Auburn faces a Vandy team in recent years, it's always been those like random once in a decade, like really good Vandy teams that just find their way to barely be ranked somehow. And then, of course,
that's
it's
true.
like a horrendous. Yeah, I mean, 08 and 2012.
Well, I think that 2016 team wasn't half bad either, if I remember right. So I think the last 3 times we played them, maybe their best 3 teams since 08. So that was nice to get a bad one for once.
Yeah, and I know it's kind of weird, like, to even think of that way, but that always just seems to be the luck of Auburn. Now, I will say, like, knowing Auburn's luck, they didn't have to play Washington game 1 like they did in 2018, because that really would have been the cap for Auburn if they'd played Washington this year. It's like the best Washington team in probably our lifetime.
Yeah, but that Washington team was good too. I don't know if you remember. They were a top 10 team, I think, for a lot of the season.
But they weren't as good as this year's team.
Right. We digress.
But yes, it seems that Auburn always seems to get that out-of-conference team the year that they're just uncharacteristically good. Or their SEC East team, same story there. Or you just get stuck with the best SEC East team, there is, and the best team in the country. So maybe I'm a little bitter. I don't know. But that did not happen to Vandy. Very nice change. And things kind of went back to business as usual for Arkansas. So as I was saying, Auburn was in a 4-game losing streak. Bad Mississippi State team at home who just lost their coach today. And a bad Vandy team away. So I'm kind of sitting here treading. I'm like, all right. Do I feel good about this? No, you just beat up some bottom tier teams. You bullied them. You hadn't really seen what they can do away. I was wrong. I thought Arkansas was going to win this game pretty handily. I felt good about the momentum they had from Florida. I'm just eating all sorts of crow here. So I'm like, okay, do they do it against Arkansas? Can they do it on the road? Maybe this crowd, maybe the team, the players have a little bit of wind in their sails and aren't watching Polar Express in the locker room at halftime. Things I didn't
That's
have
so
on my
funny.
things I didn't have on my bingo card to see. Yeah, no, that's we're gonna talk about that in a second. So incredible, just incredible. I mean, like you just gotta you got to be down real bad to be like, you know what, coach, we're gonna watch an animated kids movie and we're not gonna worry about this game. Like we're that checked out. So anyway, Hal Pittman still has a job at the time of us recording the podcast, even with that news coming out, is wild. But before we get to the bird off path, I want to see it, and they did it. So I was not going to let myself get overconfident and boog too hard on those two teams. They did it away, and yeah, Arkansas will historically be looked back as be a bad Arkansas team, but it's a bad Arkansas team that has more talent than their record should indicate. You may agree or disagree. I'm going to die on that hill here. It's still an away game, and they took care of business. This Arkansas team beat up Auburn pretty bad last year. I would even say that score of that game was worse than the game itself. And revenge game, get right game, whatever you want to call it. I mean, Auburn pretty much hit all cylinders firing, minus the interceptions. There really wasn't a whole lot of bad things you could say about that game across it. Auburn is getting healthy. You're getting guys who are banged up on defense back looking like they're in full form again. You're very likely going to go to New Mexico State this weekend or have New Mexico State face off against Auburn this weekend and take care of business there.
We're gonna smack the crap out of New Mexico State.
Yeah, and then Peyton Thorne is finally settling in, looking like he's. And then, of course, let's talk about the biggest elephant in the room here. Hugh Freeze has kind of grabbed the reins of the offense. It's like, all right, and he admitted, hey, probably should have done this a little while sooner.
That's not even conspiracy theory anymore. I mean, this is a full on, like, this definitely happened going into the Mississippi State game, I think.
Yeah. And so you're kind of seeing the culmination of all these things come together. You're seeing it come together at the right time. And that is why, and it's such just an unfamiliar feeling, because think about when is the last time you really felt like, 2017 comes to mind, but when do you really feel like Auburn? I was saying, but hear me out. When's the last time you feel like Auburn was going into November with like momentum and things were building? Like, okay, we're getting better and better each week.
When did we play Texas A&M in 2021? Was that a November game or an October? I think it was. So I guess technically it was probably that 2021 season, and then we got destroyed by A&M in College Station. Bo Nix had an awful game, and then Bo Nix came back with a great game against Mississippi State the next week. I think he was playing his best game ever in an Auburn uniform, maybe, and then broke his ankle and he was done for the year. So maybe that a little bit, but if you want to talk about true blue, I love what I'm seeing out of this team. I love how recruiting's looking. Probably that 2017 season is the best I've felt this late in the year for sure.
2021, they played Texas A&M November 6th.
Yeah, so I guess
game
yeah, it was awful.
And then Mississippi State, he obviously had his injury, and then first half Mississippi State game was lit, but
yeah, it was. That's where it all turned for old Harsin.
In South Carolina.
So
if people thought, oh, go for it.
Get into, I guess, kind of to what we've seen on the field. I think what you've seen here is that it's a combination of two things. Yes, we are getting better. I think we're getting better on offense because Thorne got more comfortable. The offensive line is starting to gel a lot more. And I think the biggest thing, honestly, is that Freeze has taken over the play calling. And because what you're seeing from Saturdays the last 3 weeks, it's completely different than what we saw through what was the last game, that Ole Miss game. I mean, there's so much more plays run to the perimeter. There's so much more creativity in the motion game. We're using screen passes the way they should. We're using our slot receivers the way they need to be used. We're finally getting Rafaldo out there on the perimeter, considering we don't really have another perimeter receiver to play. But we're just seeing so much more creativity there. And so I think that's a big thing for why we look better. I think even the bigger thing – go ahead.
No, I was going to interject real fast. It's a very small tidbit here, but I wouldn't even dumb that down a little bit more. And I just want to say, like, he's putting the guys, and just everyone on offense, so I say guys collectively, just in positions to where they can get rhythm. Just easy plays to just kind of loosen everything up, keep the defense honest, and get the confidence up, and bam, just go from there.
Right. Like the stuff I've been loving the past couple of weeks is these jet motions out where we're like this type of stuff where we're faking a toss to Jarquez, and then he's out there in the flat, and we do a pop pass to him immediately. Like those type of plays is the type of stuff we've been needing to see. A little bit more creativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Monty was definitely getting some very vanilla stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know if that was all Montgomery thing. I guess we'll probably never know for sure. But I think Freeze's influence has definitely helped with that. I think the bigger deal as far as this team goes is how much better the defense has gotten over the course of the year. Because I don't know about you, I expected our defense to play well. I did not expect them to play that well, especially the defensive line. I mean, I don't think Jefferson had any time to do anything on that. I mean, from the first time they got the ball, we were in the backfield the whole game.
Yeah, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I'd be hard-pressed to think that was not one of their worst performances. I'm going to have to find somebody who's got a Pro Football Focus account to dig up these numbers. But yeah, and I said this, and I will say this every episode up until Saturday the Iron Bowl. I generally do think that, and that kind of been the missing link on the defense was the pass rush, like pretty much the entirety of the season. Not even the rush, just getting the sacks. I mean, they were getting the backfield. They were causing pressure. They were affecting the play, but just wasn't getting to the quarterback as often as they needed to. Yeah, I mean, obviously that was not the case this game. All over Jefferson. And I said it, and I will say it. Jefferson's a good quarterback. I have respect for him. It just stinks that he's in the situation he's in because he is most definitely not being used in that offense. Just the weapons of that team are just not being utilized.
No,
and that stinks for him. But
he belongs in the Kendall Browse offense where it's less of the he needs more of the read option, deep shots, kind of like what we did with Nick Marshall back in the day. He doesn't belong in the type of stuff they were doing at least the first couple weeks of the year. I don't know what their new coach is calling, really. It was tough to tell on Saturday because we were destroying everything that they were trying to do.
Couldn't even see the play develop. But if they can get that, if that can really scale up and actually show, this wasn't just a bad line, this is something we can kind of replicate. And that was what I think about it too, is it built from Mississippi State, it built from Vanderbilt, and really just it exploded against Arkansas, which I would still say is probably the best of those three teams, all things considered, even though Mississippi State lost Arkansas. Or sorry, Mississippi State beat Arkansas. But I mean, I think if you just put them in a neutral field tournament and let them play multiple times, Arkansas comes out with the most wins out of all that. I just 7-3, that's just not going to happen again. So, and to see it, and on top of that too, it being away and just seeing it in that form of fashion, that's going to get a lot of confidence. And that's not just, Auburn had a good day, Arkansas had a bad day. That is tangible improvement, building from week to week. It's not just these are some of the bad teams. You don't beat a team that poorly. And I mean, as Hugh Freeze says, like, we could have run the numbers up on them if we wanted to. I mean, it was they could have really just kept going and going and going and going with this thing. And then, like I said, you got New Mexico State.
Biggest reason that this happened the way it did, I would say, is our front six has kind of caught up to the back five. So you're looking at Keldrick Faults really rounding the form. And Keldrick Faults, this freshman year he's had, reminds me a ton of Marlon Davidson's freshman year so far, where he kind of got on the field early, but then by the end of the year, he'd grabbed that starting job by the horns and was doing a good job there. And then you're looking at Justin Rogers has improved throughout the course of the year. He's getting a ton of push in the middle on centers and guards. Marcus Harris has been a beast all season. Really, the biggest thing to me is how good Austin Keys came back, because that means you don't just have relying on Asante to make plays. Keys has been a really good middle linebacker, and Cam Riley has actually kind of started to step up a little bit. He's not as good as Keys and Asante are, but he has improved throughout the course of the year. So I think the biggest thing is our front six is way better than it was 5 games ago.
Well, okay, that's a great point. And I want to kind of I want to zoom into this real fast. and this was something that myself, and I think a lot of others too, were the biggest question mark on the defense was going to be the linebackers. And I don't think anybody had Keys or Sante being guys that would make any sort of impact on this linebacker crew, and they are the guy. Or Sante's been the guy. Keys is, now that he's back, is looking like he's going to be, the guy for the rolling out the rest of the season. And that's a huge, huge, huge thing for this defense. And I thought that was going to be a struggle point. And not only have they been good and exceeded expectations, they're continuing to get better and better. And obviously, like I said, had a lot of that has to do with Keys coming back, Riley kind of coming a little bit more form. And so that's been a godsend and really was probably the biggest patch and what I think a lot of people are going to be holes in this defense. And I think that's where you can really see, okay, this is, and here's the big thing with that. Like, outside of LSU, Auburn's kept every opponent under 30 points for this whole season.
Yeah, pretty big deal.
Obviously, that's including Georgia. So, and LSU's only got one of the just what will historically be one of their best offenses of all time. So, with a quarterback that's being compared to the likes of Joe Burrow, so that's not one you feel too bad about in hindsight. But yeah, and I mean, obviously in the last game, 13, 15, and 10, it's pretty good. They are rolling. They're improving. They're doing it at the right time. So, let's kind of look at the big picture why this matters here. Well, why people are going to remember the end more than they're going to remember the middle and more they're going to remember the beginning. That's just kind of how it works. It's recency. You remember those things that recently happened. Well, you end the year on a high note. I mean, obviously that's going to help with recruiting. And also that kind of helps with the national perception. And it helps with, let's be honest, you're recruiting the kids you don't even know you're recruiting yet. And hear me out on this. And you know what I'm about to say here, but just for those listening, hear me out. What about those kids that are in 5th, 6th, 7th grade that are playing middle school football and will soon be 4 and 5-star kids and don't even know it yet? Those are the kids that are watching football right now that are very impressionable and very, moldable to their perception of teams that they like and don't like and think are good, or you close their eyes and envision themselves playing for, et cetera, et cetera. And these are the kids who you want to be looking like, oh, wow, like this Auburn team, they're going up. Like by the time I get to college, like what could that like? Oh, I want to be a part of that. And that is what you want. Oh, wow, look at that. Look at that Auburn team. Oh, they're getting good, man. They're heating up. Like I know that team's got some history, but wow, compared to A&M just fired their coach. Mississippi State just fired their coach. Maybe Saban might be retiring soon. Maybe Lane Kiffin's taking another job somewhere else. What that says is that stability, growth, and trajectory. Huge, huge, huge things. And that is not something Auburn has had, and like I said, quite some time. It's happened on the field. It's the timing is right.
We made we made our moves at the right time. And you're right when you say that Auburn is not traditionally a team that has had its stuff together, to put it mildly. And we just kind of got lucky by we needed a president, and right after that we needed an AD, and right after that we needed a head coach, and it all happened to line up together. And we were able to get everybody on the same page. Looks like the year before that you're about to have 4 or 5 SEC jobs open up. So I bet, if Florida opens up, I bet they would have wanted to talk to Freeze. I bet A&M would have wanted to talk to Freeze. I bet a lot of these jobs would have, and we did good by getting in on them a year early.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been especially with the new TV contracts happening, all the money that's going to be coming in the SEC, of course, with NIL, transfer portal, having this new practice facility done. This is a great time to be laying the foundations of stability in the future. And like I said, I mean, even with Alabama, like the question still is, Saban going to retire soon? Yeah, I can't say for certain because I haven't been told, but I wouldn't be shocked if you're recruiting against Alabama and you're talking to a recruit and you say, well, hey, it's Saban. He's the best there is, but you going to be playing for him sophomore year? Is he going to be the guy? Like
you're getting to the point where you can honestly say he may not be there all your 4 years.
Right. And I mean, and that's nothing against him, but I mean, gosh, he's almost in his 70s.
Yeah.
I think is he
I think he
69
is,
right
isn't he?
now?
He's got to be close.
Yeah, let's check. Let's confirm that right here. Hold on one second. Nick Saban age. Oh, what
But
am I?
that is the
I'm an
first.
idiot. He's 70. He's 72.
Yeah, I was thinking we had that milestone a while ago. But he's a young
Okay, yeah. So
72 though. I mean, you can still look at him on the sideline. He looks like he's 62.
yeah, I mean, I'm proud of him for staying in good health at that age. But all the same, and there's got to be a point where you look at that massive Miami retirement home and say, it's gonna be nice to kick back a mojito at happy hour on my porch and my private butler. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's got to be a point where it's gonna be coming, and
I don't
maybe
know. I
there
don't
is,
think
maybe
he's
there
built that.
isn't.
He's not built that way, man. I think he may live a couple years after he stops coaching, but I think he lives for football.
Just do it Bear Bryant style, where you're literally just coaching right up till the very end.
Maybe not
And
drink
I mean,
yourself
even
to
Joe,
death, but yeah.
I did. Okay, come on now. But I mean, even Joe Pa, good lord, even Joe Pa. I mean, obviously that was a little bit of a different scenario, but I mean, there is something to be said for guys that just literally coach till the end. Now, Bobby Bowden did have some retirement, but I mean, he also coached, his golden years as well. So, but also to I mean, Nick Saban came from that generation. I mean, those were,
Yeah.
that was. I mean, he just it's a different mentality there. So obviously, I mean, I want Saban to enjoy that Miami Beach home, and I think he should really consider it like next season. This would be a great time to great time to go down there to celebrate. But before we get too sidetracked on dreaming about some, just what I would say good conversation points, back to Auburn and the trajectory and the timing. Give me your take on how do you think, obviously, we talked about this on the field, but how's this looking off the field? What is the chatter
I
from
mean,
the
it's on
crews?
the way up. We got a massive flip this weekend. This is a guy
Yeah,
we've
let's
been
talk about
needing.
that. Waller.
Jamonte Waller is the edge that Freeze and Roberts have circled as the guy they wanted at that position since they got here, from what I understand. And they put a ton of work into that kid. Roberts too, and it sounds like Roberts is a sneaky good recruiter, by the way. But
Hmm.
I think they just didn't give up on him. Hammered home, hammered home, hammered home. You were right about Napier. He doesn't have the juice on the field, and he finally slipped. And we capitalized on it. Got him to flip his commitment. And I think I was reading an article from one of the sites earlier today that says he's already working on some of his teammates at Florida, trying to get them to come with him to Auburn now. Some big time guys. So this could be a
Well,
bigger deal than just getting him.
yeah, and that's going to be the other thing too with all these coaches, with all this what seems to be like a very heavy coaching turnover. I mean, already two, and it's not even middle point in November. That's not including other coaches that might be let go. That's not including other coaches that might take other jobs. There could be a massive churn in the transfer portal of SEC caliber talent, SEC players.
Yep.
So this could be a. I mean, it really is trending for Auburn to clean up. I did not have Jimbo getting let go after a 51-10 win on my bingo card. I thought
I didn't
Pittman
think they
might,
would do
which
it
is
this year.
ironic. No, I did. Mm. I guess all the rumors of saying they've got the money sitting in the coffers and they're just waiting. I mean, I guess that was all true because the timing was odd, but I
Yeah.
guess it's just crazy that both Malzahn and Jimbo were let go after beating Mississippi State. So don't know what that says about Mississippi State.
They suck.
But yeah, but I generally just want to get back to the theme of this. Auburn fans can feel good. You can take a moment, be happy, enjoy it, because and this is going to be I want to do a whole episode on this, but I'm going to get a little teaser point here. This
Okay.
will be the title of the episode. Is I
Tease
generally
me.
don't think that the Iron Bowl matters at this point. Pretty much
Uh,
at this point right now. No, but hear me out. From like a bad standpoint, like Auburn has nothing to lose in this Iron Bowl.
yeah, I agree with that.
Is kind
But
of my angle at this. Like Alabama can't hurt you.
I don't think so
Okay,
either.
you
But
said
you still
but.
want to put up a good showing because you want that atmosphere to be electric for as long as possible. To me, it's
No,
at least going
100%.
into the fourth quarter.
100%. I mean, and does it hurt you? But like I mean, it would generally have to be Alabama would have to beat Auburn about 30 something points, just that type of game. And this Alabama team really just they don't have that's just hadn't been their thing this year.
Well, it has the last couple weeks.
And yeah, but Auburn's defense is better than LSU's defense. Kentucky's
Yes.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
And then
I
I mean
do
they
think
beat Tennessee by 14. They only beat Arkansas by 3. And I like using transitive property when it pushes the narrative. So, I'm just saying 3-point Arkansas. I'm just saying.
so.
A&M by 3.
I looked at the FPI today, ESPN FPI today, and it's
Mhm.
got Alabama with an 80% chance of victory, and I think it's a very fair guess. We probably have about a 1 in 5 games we play, maybe less than that. Honestly, we would win them, but I do think we have a shot in this game, and that's because there's Jordan Hare is going to be nuts for a while, for as long as it's going to be a close game, and I do think our defense can hang with them for a long time. I still got to see Peyton Thorne in the offense deliver against a quality team before I buy that yet. And this is going to be a huge litmus test for me and Peyton as far as the future of Auburn goes, and if I think we should roll with him next year or not.
So
To
that was going to
me,
be my
yeah, go for it.
No, I was kidding. That was going to be my next point. Peyton Thorne, but finish this one up because we need to talk about that.
So yeah,
Big
I'm ready to
element.
jump into it. But Thorne, to
Okay,
me,
okay.
if Thorne plays the way he has the last 3 games against Alabama, I think Auburn has to stick with him for next year because it's kind of like the thing we talked about before. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know.
Right.
Thorne at that point,
And
Thorne would have had a decent season against an SEC schedule, and unless you're bringing in a quarterback who consistently competes against SEC teams, I don't know if you're going to just pull somebody in off the street that's going to be better than that.
I think if Thorne has a better, we'll say, no more than 1 interception against Alabama, and he's not just getting sacked, just getting obliterated, over 60% completion percentage against Alabama, looks confident,
Efficiency.
just does what he needs to do. Right. Yes. Plays how he's been playing. Obviously win, you feel really good about it. But if he can just put the numbers and the poise and doesn't look like he's scared of the level of competition he needs to be competing against, I agree with you. Now, obviously, if he does
Yeah.
all that and beats Alabama, then we're having a completely different conversation here. But
Right.
if he just keeps it competitive, he keeps his head on a swivel, he's not scared of the second best team that he's gone up against all year. Yeah, I mean, I think then you can safely say because I was critical of Peyton Thorne, rightfully so. In hindsight, I think it was more of the coaches' decisions that nerfed Peyton Thorne rather than maybe Thorne himself. Plus, maybe just time to get adjusted to everything. But
Can we say now
if he
that
can
it
show,
was? Can we say now that it was a terrible decision to go with the 2 quarterbacks the first 2/3 of the year?
I don't think we'll just say that now. I think we were saying that all year, pretty much.
Yeah, I
I mean,
think if we had just given
I don't,
Peyton the reins from game 1, it would have been so much different than the majority of the year.
no, I mean, I don't think it made, and I mean, we don't have to go back into this now, but yeah, I mean, it didn't make it just the way they did it through the entirety of the year didn't make any sense at any point because it was just like if Peyton's your guy, let him play. For your cupcake games, let him play 2.5 quarters. Put in your second string, which would have been Robbie, and then let him finish the game out, as they do in most cases. Now, if you have a very situationally based package, that's fine. Give him a few plays here for a momentum boost. That's fine. But obviously, that's not what they did. It was the meme that I made of just the spinning of the wheel of like, oh, all right, Thorne, up, spin it again, up, Robbie, and it made no sense. And just letting them go in, settle them down. It was good. And the deal with red zone Robbie, which he definitely has a threat in the red zone, they haven't needed to do that because they've just had no issues getting it into the red zone. So
Well, I mean, what at this point, what does Robbie give you that Peyton doesn't give you in the running game? I don't know if there is something that you. I mean, maybe marginally better. Peyton's killing it with these keepers, man. Like the whole Saturday, all that misdirection, and he would go the other way with the pulling guards. I mean, he was taking names out there. He would put that dude
No,
on his butt,
I
and
mean,
then he was getting 10 yards a pop. I mean, it looks great.
yeah, he's slippery. I mean, the only difference would be Robbie would have that breakaway where if he gets in a hole, he's got the speed where he can get out where no one's catching him. But how often is that going to happen? How often? It's here's the deal here. It's like the slot machine. How often are you really going to hit that jackpot play versus your I guess skee ball maybe is a better example. Are you going for that 100-point corner hole that's the hardest to get to, or you're just lobbing it up and hitting your 20s? And that's what I think you kind of look at there. Peyton is going to get you those 2, 3, even bust 6, 7, 10 plus yard little runs, slide down, get it. Robbie can get some of those too, but they're going to key in on that more now. Robbie can bust you out and get you a touchdown, but you don't necessarily need that all the time, and you can't
Um,
expect that all the time. So yeah, I mean, I'm agreeing. It hasn't made any sense. It didn't make any sense. The coaches, whoever, I don't know if it was Montgomery, I don't know if it was Freeze, a combination of both, whoever, whatever. It didn't make sense. It was bad for both of them. They both looked worse because of that. And when they stopped doing that, it let the guy who they trot in there be better. And it was Thorne. It had been designed for Thorne all along. I don't know why they didn't let it. Who knows? Maybe the details of that will come out later. But regardless, it is what it is. It is what it is right now, and what it is working. So we ride
yes,
with it.
agreed.
You do what you need to do against New Mexico State. You go to Alabama, and like I said, I mean that's the biggest. I hate to put the pressure on, but that's the biggest test for Thorne. Are you going to be the guy next year? And like I said, if he does it and he does well enough, I think all right, a whole nother year in that system, develop him right. He's like an eighth
Yeah.
year quarterback at this point. You can feel good about that. Like I said, W know. Don't know what Robbie, don't know what Holden or any of these other guys will do. Maybe you bring in transfer, you bring them to compete, you bring them to beat depth, whatever. We'll talk about that when it gets there. Now, one thing I will say for sure is if he does lay an egg against Alabama, then I think you got to sit there and scratch your head and say, okay, well,
No, I
there is a
agree.
level of competition that Peyton Thorne is going to perform against, and then there's a level it's not, and it's obviously not his performance does not scale up when the competition does, and that's where I think you got to really look long and hard and say, all right, we're gonna eyeball and see what's out there in the portal. But if he does against Alabama and shows that the first half of the season was just a lot of other bad stuff that was really outside of his control, then yeah, I feel. And like I said, this is somebody who's very critical of Peyton Thorne for the majority of the year. I feel good burying that hatchet and say, hey, buddy, you've now proved it. Let's ride. And that doesn't mean you have to beat Alabama. Just good performance.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Trust
like I
me,
said,
he's got to play an efficient game against Alabama. If he plays an efficient game against
100%.
Alabama, roll with him next year. That's my feelings on it.
But hit the trend here. You get New Mexico State, feeling good that's going to be a win. You at this point now are on a 4-game winning streak. The 4-game loss is a distant memory. Other SEC teams around you are imploding. The team of the team of destiny in the SEC being Missouri is so far out of the way. You don't have to worry about them. They're in the East. You're not fighting for recruits for them. So that's kind of a good problem for Auburn to have.
Yeah.
You go in the Iron Bowl, realistic best case scenario without putting the bug goggles on. You play a competitive, electric 2021-esque game against Alabama. Probably going to get into a decent bowl game with how the rest of the SEC is done. I am under the opinion with all things that would be really nice to win that one for a change, considering how Gus Malzahn did not do great in
He
bowl
didn't like
games.
winning bowl games. Yeah.
Cap off even more of that momentum with Hugh Freeze, and then really make people feel like, oh, the rebuild at Auburn is happening. It's real. And just churn that positive news. Get people talking about Auburn in a positive light. Get your SEC talking heads, get your national talking heads, get everybody else, the rebuild, the stability, the growth. Auburn's back. Make it an exciting, fun team to watch. And then I think all the other dominoes start to fall, building the foundation the right way. And then all of the drama, all the hoopla, all the yang, whatever, you got the alignment with, as you mentioned earlier, the president, the AD, the coach, the staff. And there's going to be some there'd be some staff changes that may come up between now and then. But regardless, they'll take care of that. The last missing piece there is just getting all the fans to just put down put down the boxing gloves and quit having the Civil War thing and be a fan base that, and this is going to sound silly, but this is very true, be a fan base that can aid in recruiting. Look how awesome our fans are. Look how much they pack out the house. Look at this atmosphere.
If we can get that done, that would be a miracle. But because I think that for the most part, the people on Twitter care more about themselves being right than they do about Auburn's well-being. But if we can get to that point, that'd be huge.
Right, and that's going to be a big thing. And like I said, just the key word I'm going to say stability. But like I said, it's trending there, and
we are
the team's doing trending up. And I'm safely saying it is okay to say that. It's not just we hit the low point of talent in the season. We're getting there. Even though these are some bad teams, you're seeing things that, and I feel like if you had A&M, Georgia, LSU, and Ole Miss next 4 games, you're not losing all 4. You're at least grabbing. I'll say worst case scenario, you'd be one of those teams.
I agree. I think the way we're calling the offense now, we'd have won one of those.
Yeah, you can pick your poison for who that could have been. You can debate it, but I think Auburn's sitting at 7 wins right now. If things were to be that way, and then of course you got a much take a few turnovers away, you got a much better win against Cal as well. Right. And that was the thing that had just kind of scared me, was that performance. And maybe it was just they were just still new and learning to play together. And so that's the funny thing too, is you kind of look at this as the inverse of what happened with Harsin, because he came out of the gate just guns a-blazing against just cupcake teams, asterisk Georgia State.
About to say, not that one.
And then, X. And I mean, even against Penn State, like, they played a good game against a top 10 Penn State team on the road, literally came down to the last play of it, and then beat LSU on the road, had a tough one against Georgia. And then, as you mentioned earlier, the Arkansas and the Ole Miss, and just it went completely downward. And that's the thing, is everybody is going to remember that 2021 season, how they ended, not how they started. Right. And same deal with here. People are going to remember how the season ends, not how it starts. Started. Trying to get my words there right. And they're on the right path. They did what they needed to do. This was the best case scenario, was win the next 4. I think we can safely say it's there. But it's not just the winning, it's not making it close, beating the brakes off of them, and having that marquee break-beating game.
Yeah,
I mean, 48-10, which really could have been even more than that. That's big time. So
we let our foot off the gas.
Feel good about it.
In the third quarter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, that was a 2.5. It was a 2.5 point favor for Arkansas. Auburn beats them by 38, and that was just in true Gus Malzahn fashion. So that's going to be a lot of momentum, and I mean, this is definitely, you're starting to see. I mean, there are some Alabama fans that are starting to kind of clamor their teeth a little bit. They are not feeling great about this. So not to say that they aren't good. It's more just they know how hard of an atmosphere this is to play in Jordan-Hare.
Yep.
And they know that this by most accounts will be an upset watch by pretty much everybody who is a college football, who's going to cover the sport at the national level, and say, watch this game for an upset. And it's a fair point. So the tickets for this game have now skyrocketed in price. I don't know if you've been following that.
No, I had the thought maybe I'll try to get a ticket to this game, and then I start thinking about, like, there's no chance it's going to be under $500 a ticket or something like that. So,
they'll be cheaper than that. I mean, you're probably looking between the ranges of like $200 and $300.
Well, a good ticket won't be under $500. So.
Oh yeah. No, I mean if you're lower bowl, not in a quarter, yeah, it's going to be cha-chinging. Now, if they'd lost to Arkansas, it could have been a different deal. But yeah, the Ole Miss game, Ole Miss week was the time to buy an Iron Bowl ticket.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we're gonna conclude this. Obviously, gonna do a quick ad read here. Thank our sponsor, Opelika Rage Room, for sponsoring the show. Of course, they want us to remind everybody out there, just because Auburn is winning doesn't mean that is still not a fun place. They still want you to visit. You can celebrate a win at a Rage Room too. That was the one thing they wanted me to tell you. For folks in the Opelika, Auburn area, go check them out, Opelika Rage Room. OpelikaRageRoom.com to get more information and book. Or if you're in the Birmingham area, Birmingham Rage Room, their sister location in Birmingham. Also a great time. Also want to remind everybody, hey, you can still have fun in a Rage Room and celebrate a win that way as well. Thank you again for sponsoring the show. Make sure everybody's listening. Go check them out. So last thing, Pat, tell everybody, short and long term, why Auburn is trending up, in your opinion, in your words, conclude us out, and what you think is kind of the next step. All right, we're trending up here. Here's where we really see the fruits of this payoff.
Short term, we're trending up. You're seeing it on the field. Our quarterback's improving. Our offensive line's improving. Our defense as a whole is improving. So I think that's your evidence that short term we're trending up. That leads into successful recruiting. And that's your whole foundation for having long term success, is bringing in these top blue chip players every single class. And it looks like that's going to happen this one. So that's a great start and a great sign that we are looking at trending up in the long term.
Now, I was last question on this. With Waller jumping in the class, what did that bump Auburn's class ranking up to?
I just looked at it. It said it was 16th on 24/7 composite, and we're up to the 10th in the average rating. But I would like to remind everybody that there are some big dogs that Auburn is still in on. And I say plural because there are multiple of them still out there that could heavily affect this one way or the other. So it's nowhere close to being over yet as far as that goes.
Right. But I'm going to use this word for the number of times this episode, trending well. I'm going to tell you who's trending poorly, and that's Florida with their recruits. There's a lot of guys. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that Florida has right now. That was kind of Billy Napier's safety net. Not looking great. So this is a time of the year that
we may not be done with them either. So.
No, hey, it's poaching season. And what did we say? Literally, what did we say last week's episode? Just how important November and December were going to be.
Right.
Just saying. Kind of calling our shots here. This is where it gets to be big time here. And this is if you can really pick, this is the month of the year that you want to win. And I tell you what, it's hard to feel much. It's hard to feel much better than how it's going right now. And Auburn is, from a recruiting standpoint, on the precipice here of jumping LSU and Tennessee. And I don't asterisk on this, they are including Oklahoma and Texas in these recruiting rankings. So this is out of 16 teams now. So people's like, oh, Auburn is the 9th. Yeah, there's 2 more teams than there were. But right. A little bit of a push, and you're jumping up there, and you're probably going to be sitting at that 7th spot. Maybe a little bit other of a push, and you could be looking to jump Oklahoma. Now, it's interesting here because Auburn has, I just want to kind of put over this perspective, everybody. Auburn's sitting at 9, plays with 18 guys. LSU's got 25, Tennessee has 20, and Oklahoma has 27. Your next spot's in front of Auburn. So the kicker there is they really like volume. Now, On3's average rating has Auburn at number 7 in the SEC.
Yeah. But like I said, that improved, I think, a little bit. The problem is when we lost Pat Burnett, it knocked us down a little bit. So in the average star rating, it hurts us. But I think the coaching staff and how other people would look at it, that doesn't hurt our rating at all as far as talent coming in. So.
Yep. Well, that's the thing there. You said it. You said it with the average star rating but the kicker, the fullest of the picture here, and one that I'm hoping to feel good about because I think we got a little preview from the transfer portal, is recruiting stars are great, getting big numbers and high rankings are great, but the end all be all, what matters the most is your evaluation and your roster development. You could
Right.
recruit every high ranked safety in the country and not have any linebackers. That's not really going to help your roster. It's getting guys that you need, it's evaluating them well. And then obviously the newest thing here that we're still kind of seeing how this will play out with recruiting is with the transfer portal. You got to retain the guys. You got to recruit these guys every single year to stay at your program. Yep. So develop them, recruit them. So I mean, you got to sell them on this thing every single day, and we'll see how it ends up panning out. But Pat, that's going to conclude us for today's episode. We're bugging a little bit. We're feeling good about this one. This is probably the most optimistic episode that I feel like we've done. And it's just kind of funny because I think we started doing this like right around the Georgia week. So that was a tough time for myself to like, all right, I'm going to take over the reins of hosting the Auburn Daily podcast show now. But you know what? Sail through the choppy waters. What's the meme? I prayed for days like this. We are getting to those. We are getting to those days. So hold tight. Keep chugging forward. Beat the brakes off New Mexico State. Get the momentum. God willing, beat the brakes off Alabama. And if you don't do it, at least just scare them for 4 quarters that you were going to beat them. Have them on the edge of the seats the whole time and make them sweat and make it an absolutely electric atmosphere, what will very, very likely be a slammed packed house for recruits. And of course, because I know all the Auburn coaches are definitely listening to this show, you guys, I don't wish you, because I mean, the retail stores are doing it, so I think we can say it. Merry Flipmas. Y'all get out there and do that thing. That's all I want. I want Flipmas. We can do it before Christmas, on Christmas, after Christmas. I don't care. Get those big dogs to flip. Bring them to Auburn. There's room left in this class. Let's go. Pat, thanks for joining the show. Everybody out there, make sure to support Auburn Daily. Subscribe, like, follow, do all the things. Hit all the buttons. Check us out on YouTube. If you are listening on podcast, thank you for checking us out there. Make sure you subscribe. YouTube, send us a like. Leave a comment. Podcasters, make sure, if you haven't already, 5-star review. Tell us something you love about the show. Tell us something you love about Auburn. And, of course, check out auburndaily.com for all the awesome written content that staff is doing. I want to thank everybody for listening. We will be back tomorrow. Make sure to check us out then.